Why do some nations break free from poverty while others remain stuck? How do revolutions, reforms, and historical baggage shape the fate of entire countries? And most importantly, can struggling nations ever escape the cycle of failure? Welcome to this episode 6 of MAKAL'S Read and Lead audio podcast, where we dive into the final chapters of Why Nation Fail by Darren and James Robinson, exploring how some nations succeed while others continue to struggle. This episode is about hope, about transformation, and about the key lessons history teaches in shaping a better future. Buckle up because we are about to uncover the blueprint for national prosperity. Now we start from chapter 14, its name Breaking the Mold, and this chapter is divided into two parts. First is how some nations have successfully transitioned to inclusive institutions, and second is the role of revolutions and reforms. For centuries, nations trapped under oppressive, extractive institutions have attempted to break free, but very few have succeeded. Why? Because breaking the mold is not just about overthrowing rulers, it's about changing the system itself. First example is the Glorious Revolution in 1688 in England. England was once ruled by a monarch who had absolute power. But in 1688, a revolution forced the king to accept constitutional limits, giving parliament and the people more say in governance. This marked the beginning of an inclusive system that encouraged innovation and economic growth. Second example is Botswana, Africa exception. Unlike many African nations plagued by dictatorship and corruption, Botswana successfully built strong institutions after independence. How? By ensuring property rights, democratic governance, and fighting corruption from the start. Key takes away from this lesson are revolutions alone don't guarantee success. It's the creation of inclusive institutions that truly transforms a nation's fate. Now we talk about chapter 15, the virtuous circle. In this chapter, we talk about two things. First is how inclusive institutions sustain themselves, and second is about case study about the US and its democratic stability. Once a nation establishes inclusive institutions, how does it keep them? The answer lies in the virtuous circle, a self-reinforcing cycle where strong institutions create prosperity and prosperity strengthens democracy. Case study about the United States. The US Constitution ensures check and balances, preventing any single group from monopolizing power over time. Democratic stability allow economic innovation, strong property rights, and an expanding middle class. This further strengthens democracy, creating a cycle of prosperity. Now we talk about warning, even the best democracies can falter. History shows that no nation is immune to decline if a powerful elite starts manipulating institutions for personal gain. The virtuous circle can turn into a vicious cycle leading to instability. Key takes away from this lesson is democracy and prosperity go hand in hand, but they require constant protection from corruption and authoritarianism. Now we talk about chapter 16. Its name is The Diffusion of Prosperity. In this chapter, we talk about two things. First is why some nations catch up while others don't, and second is about how globalization affects institutional change. If one nation develops inclusive institutions and prosper, does that prosperity spread? The answer is sometimes but not always. Example, South Korea versus North Korea. After World War II, both Koreas had the same culture and resources, but South Korea embraced democracy and market-friendly reforms, while North Korea remained a dictatorship. Today, South Korea is a global economic powerhouse, while the North remain impoverished. Now we talk about globalization, a double-edged sword. Globalization has helped spread ideas of democracy and economic reforms. Countries like China have benefited from opening up trade, but without fully adopting inclusive institutions, their long term stability remains uncertain. Key takeaways from these lessons are prosperity spreads when institutions allow it. A nation must actively embrace openness, reforms, and democratic values to benefit from global opportunities. Now we talk about chapter 17. Its name is The Weight of History. In this chapter, we talk about two things. First is why institutional change is so difficult, and second is how colonial history affect modern development. One of the biggest obstacles to national success is history itself. The way a country was ruled in the past deeply affects its present and future. Now we talk about colonial legacy, the unseen burden. Many African, Latin America, and Asian nations are colonized by European power, which built extractive institutions designed to exploit resources. Even after independence, these nations inherited weak institutions, making it hard to establish democracy and long-term prosperity. Example is the Congo's never-ending struggle. Belgium ruled the Congo as a brutal colony, extracting wealth while suppressing its people. After, after independence, weak institutions led to dictatorship, corruption, and repeated conflict. Even today, the scars of colonialism remains. Key takeaways from this chapters are history matters, but nations that recognize their past and actively work to reform their institutions can still escape the cycle of failure. Now we talk about the chapter 18. Its name is The Future of Nations. Can struggling nations escape the cycle of failure? The warning signs of decline for even the richest countries. Are struggling nations doomed forever? No, but escaping the cycle of failure requires political will, social movements, and institutions reforms. Warning: even wealthy nations can decline. History shows that once great civilizations like Rome, the Ottoman Empire, and even modern Venezuela collapsed because they allowed their institutions to decay. Hope: change is possible. Countries like South Korea, Botswana, and Chile have shown that with the right reforms, even a struggling nation can rise. The key is empowering citizens, ensuring fair governance, and preventing elites from hijacking institutions. Key takeaways from this chapter are every nation faces a choice, reform and prosper, or resist change and risk decline. Now, in the end, we talk about conclusion, and in this conclusion, we talk about two things: final thoughts on why nations succeed or fail, and what history teaches us about shaping the future. And this is last chapter of this book is chapter 19. So we conclude our journey through why nations fail. One lesson stands out: the fate of a nation is not determined by its geography, culture, or luck. It's determined by its institution. The big takes away from this chapters or from these books are: nations that build inclusive institutions thrive. Second is revolutions alone don't work, real change comes from lasting reforms. Third is history is powerful but not unchangeable. Fourth is globalization create opportunities but nation must embrace them. Every generation has a responsibility to protect and improve democracy. The future is not written in stone. Struggling nations can rise and powerful nations can fall. The question is, what path will we choose? Thank you for joining us in the 5-part journey exploring why nations fail. If you found these insights valuable, share this podcast, subscribe, and Stay tuned for more deep dives into history, politics, and society. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep leading.